Hello, everyone. My name is Frank Anthony, and welcome back to Let Me Be Frank, episode 79. How is everyone doing today? I hope you're doing well during, just crazy times. This world is a crazy place, and hopefully you are doing well. Me, myself, I'm grateful and thankful for, what's been happening in my life. Normally people will bitch and complain that, oh, if my life is boring or something, and my life has been a little bit on the boring side. Being a writer doesn't really help with that either, and the other work that I do. However, it's kind of a blessing to be able to be bored at the end of the day, because there's some awful things that have been going on in this world where it's like you don't have time to be bored when you're trying to survive. So I really just want to send my love and support, and let me know if there's anything that, be frank with me, I guess we can say, and let me know if there's anything that I can do to try to help to the best of my abilities with anything that's going on with you guys. Don't be afraid to reach out. So what's been new with me? I mean, honestly, not too much overall. I'm doing a little bit. See, it's funny because it's not it's technically still summer. It's not fall yet. I'm doing like this type of spring cleaning. In a way, I just feel like I need to go through stuff before the snow starts coming in the area and everything. I guess even before fall. I just feel like I need to declutter. I think it's kind of healthy to do that every now and again, but I've been writing more on my book, and that's kind of been a slow process, but it's moving forward. It's moving in the right direction. So, hey, that's something positive there. I have been reading. I've still, last episode I said that I've been reading a lot more. That's still going on. That passion for reading has really been burning. It's great. I do have a lot of books that I'm trying to read, so that could be part of it as well, trying to get some of them out of the house. But I like being lost in that world as well. And I have been writing book reviews. I wrote mini ones before, and then I was doing video book reviews for TikTok and stuff. Now I'm just kind of trying to stay more focused on the blog and the website, which is letmebefrankpod.com. You can access the podcast via website, and you can access these new book reviews where I'm starting to get more and more detailed with them. So definitely go check those out and like them and share them and comment them if you do enjoy them. And usually what I like to say is, regardless of the rating that I put for the book, make sure you check out the book yourself if it's something that sounds interesting, because all these books at one point I was like, hey, I'm interested in reading this. And just because I love a book or I don't love a book won't mean you will feel the same way. Everyone has different tastes on that. The only other new thing I can really think about is that I've been trying out time blocking. So normally I'm a big to-do list type of person, but the issue is when I don't, I guess the best way I can put it is when I don't put that fire under my ass, sometimes I'll kind of like poke along, especially if you're doing stuff at home, like if you're trying to do work stuff at home, but home is usually that sanctuary of peace in some way. Like home is supposed to be a relaxing type of area where you just unwind and stuff. But if you have to get work done around the house, sometimes you don't want to. So, and sometimes that happens to me. Or like if you're working on stuff, but then you see the TV right there, you see a video game system, or for me, even like you see my book's laying there. I'm like, oh, well, maybe if I just read one more chapter, and then all of a sudden I'm 50 pages in already. So I just, there's those certain distractions that in our workplace, if we go out and to our workplace for work, then, we don't necessarily have those distractions. Maybe we have our phone in our pocket, but that's usually what we have at most. We're at home. We have multiple different types of devices and distractions that can hinder our progress on, maybe certain goals that we want to achieve, or our various to-do lists. So with time blocking, you just pretty much, you put specific times for things you want to do, and you make sure you remember to schedule breaks, which I'm good at forgetting that. I forgot to schedule lunch today, so I'm going to have to try to fit that in. But yeah, like including recording this intro and posting this episode that you're listening to, I had to schedule certain times so that I don't drudge on it. I don't like drag my feet over it. Instead, I'm like, no, let's do it. So to be honest, as I'm recording this is kind of the first day I'm doing the time blocking officially. Like I said, I've always done the to-do list, and you set a few tasks as priority and all that good stuff, and then all your other tasks you need to do. And I also write way too many things as well. And then if I don't have them all crossed out, you feel like a failure, which you shouldn't feel that way. I had to remind myself that just because you didn't check off all the boxes doesn't mean you didn't do a good job today. You're most likely not going to get everything done. I think online, as I was doing research, it said that on average, usually people only achieve 3 or 4 things on their list, or 3 or 4 main goals. So I feel like if you at least achieve your main goals, and like that's a really good start. If you at least accomplish a couple things, it's better than accomplishing absolutely nothing. And also at the end of the day, some days we need, which I try to treat as the weekend, some days we need to not do stuff sometimes. I know in certain situations for people, it's almost impossible to be able to have those days of doing nothing or even amounts of time, but that's when I guess I would sit down, which I have in the past, and which I do a lot. I guess you sit down and you just look and you kind of write down everything that you do in your daily life and try to figure out where you can find those pockets of time. Because I think at the end of the day, regardless of how busy our lives get, we can, if we really want to do something, we can really try to make the time for it. And that's even like focusing on one specific thing. And I know for me, a big thing was writing a book and never actually doing it, where I'm like, no, I need to sit down and I need to see in my life what's something that's not super important that instead I could be doing the writing. And yeah, for me, one big thing I've really cut out is I barely watch like Netflix or TV. Sometimes I'll do the occasional YouTube video here and there during like break time or something, but and yeah, a lot less like watching stuff, at least on the weekdays. So yeah, that's just been that. Quote of the day is going to come from Crystal G. It's been Crystal and Alexa a lot. It's pretty much just the two of them for now. If you'd like to submit a quote, you can private message me your quote, or when I do, you can leave in the comments your quote whenever I post on the Instagram, which is letmebefrankpod. So yeah, or wherever, just send me quotes and they might be read on the podcast. Most likely they will be. I'm keeping a good track of them. If too many come in at once, that's when I got to give myself a minute to organize them, but I'm trying. I have a document now. I'm trying to keep them. Most of them are in there, but this one's going to be 2. One of them was a little bit short and they kind of go hand in hand. So Crystal G sent in these 2 quotes. So the first one is, we can work at our own pace and still be successful. And the other one is, productivity is not how much work I do in a day, but how well I balance what I need to stay healthy. And both of those are poems from Rupi Kaur. And both of those actually kind of go with the time blocking that I was talking about earlier. I felt like those were very appropriate for today's conversation. And I agree with those a lot. I used to believe, and it's promoted a lot out there, that it's like almost like a bragging right if we work 12, 14, 16-hour days. And which, some people don't have a choice. I get it, where some people, like for example, some people in the medical field, they have to work like 12-hour days. That's what their shift calls for. And, but yeah, I mean, some people will just really push themselves when they don't need to. And even when you do work 12 hours, it doesn't mean it needs to be high paced every single one of those hours. Like, we need to be able to take, like, we're only human. We're not robots. Robots can work. I mean, even they start to shut down over time, but they can get a lot of work done without having to take a break necessarily, where we are, it's a quote that I heard the other day, not meaning to throw an extra quote in here, but it was, and I can't remember exactly, but it was something about how we live in a futuristic world, but our bodies are made in a primal state. And, like our bodies are never going to be on that robotic level or like that advanced superhero level. It's just not going to happen ever. We're always going to, we can only work with what we're given. So we have to, we have to do our best and try to, pretty much, yeah, do our best. And it doesn't mean that, like, for example, what is it? Like J.K. Rowling, for example, she writes, or at least what I saw online, that she writes from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. So that's 6 hours. And, just because it's not an 8-hour workday, or she doesn't write for 8 hours or 12 hours, she still can be very successful. And we've seen over time that she made the right decisions when it came to, like, just because she wrote. And that's the thing, some people only write for like an hour or two a day, and just because they do that doesn't mean they won't be successful. Everyone just has everyone, I guess a good way I like to put it is, everyone has different methods to their madness. That's the way I like to put it. And with the second quote about having that balance is so important. I've been guilty of being that individual, and I know some of you probably have been as well, where you just work so much and you don't really think about the self-care. You don't think about your mental health. You don't think about your physical health maybe. And then all of a sudden you just break. And that's happened a few too many times in my life, where I just end up having that mental break because it gets too much when you're on a hamster wheel and you're running and running and running, and you don't take a second to drink the little hamster water. I don't know why I'm calling us hamsters, but you know what I mean, right? So it's so important to keep that balance. Something I added to my morning routine of getting ready is a 10-minute meditation. It's 10 minutes. I'm able to I'm like, I don't know if I can make time for meditation. It's like, of course you can. If you look at your life and try to reorganize it as best as possible, and obviously test things out. So I tested out the 10-minute meditations, and I'm like, you know what? I can fit that in because it's important. It's important not just to me and functionality, but it's important to my well-being. So we're going to go to Out There News. I won't spend too much time on it because I want to get right into the episode. But Facebook apologizes after its AI labels black men as primates. So, which, oh man. And it's like I just realized that actually ties into what I was just saying earlier, how we all have primal bodies. We are all primates. So it shouldn't, which, computers aren't perfect. I also just mentioned that too. Robots aren't gonna, run perfectly all the time. But yeah, that's obviously not right at all that it would be. So what happened, let me kind of rewind a little bit. There was a video on Facebook, and it was something about, it was like this white guy, at least the way they described it online, this white man was celebrating a birthday, and a group of black men had arrived at the party, and the white man said he called the police or something, said he was being harassed by these men, and someone had paused the video, and it said, would you still like to watch this video of primates? And yeah, that's not good. Like, you could really play devil's advocate and say, well, we're all primates, which is true. But, this isn't the first case something like this has happened. Black African Americans have been labeled as primates and as, like, compared to monkeys in a negative connotation way too many times. And I'm happy that they did apologize, and they did say they're fixing it, and hopefully they do actually fix it, because I do believe that is wrong at the end of the day. It's morally wrong at the end of the day. Like, yes, scientifically we are all primates, but I never really see Caucasian people be labeled as primates online, where for African Americans, it's like such an easy label for people to associate with, when at the end of the day, we should be all equal. I want to say we're all equal, but unfortunately in our society, we're not always treated as equal, and we need to do better with that. And things like this don't really help the narration. So, all right, let's get into the guest. This is a third wheel episode, which we haven't done in a little bit while. which did that even make sense? We haven't done in a while. It is with Marisabel and Julian. They host their own podcast called Live with J&M Podcast. And on their podcast, they talk about their personal lives and society and health and many other topics. Kind of a little bit like this one, I guess. Maybe they're a little bit similar, except they're co-host and I do it by myself at the moment. But yeah, we get into their romantic relationship and how they met and some of their favorite memories, some of the difficult things they've been through. The would you rather questions towards the end ended up being very interesting, funny conversations with them on that. I don't want to give too much away, but one thing I will say before we get to them is that they're only 19 years old, and which feels like a century ago for me. It was 10 years ago, which holy crap, yeah, time really flies. And they just seem very wise. You know, when they were talking about their relationship, one thing I really recognized while they were talking was just how put together they seemed, and just something that I did not have at 19 years old. I thought, once again, I thought I knew everything in a relationship, and there was still, I guess, really at any point in your life, there's always something new you can learn. But when it came to romance, even to this day, I know I could still learn things. But at that time, there was a lot that I could still learn about myself and, dealing with a romantic relationship, crafting and building that relationship, not just through the good times, but also through the not so good times. And yeah, so without further ado, let's get to them. I hope you enjoy. Hey, Marisabel and Julian, how's it going?
It's going good. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, it's going
Thank
great.
you. Thank you for both being on. I'm excited to get to know both of you more. I think we've recently met. It hasn't been too long, so this is exciting.
Yeah, it's I think we met through our own podcast channel, and then it was just kind of great to see your own content, and I really love what you do. And so it was when you put that post out of that you're looking for couples, I was like, hey, that's us. And then it was great that you were like, yeah, go ahead and hop on. So I'm glad to be here. It's an early morning, so a little
I
tired.
know. I'm excited we connected. And yeah, before I even ask both of you more about the relationship itself, you both tongue twister. You both host a podcast. It's early in the morning, like we said.
Yeah.
you both host your own podcast. Can you tell all of us more what that's about? What's it called? All that good stuff.
The title of the podcast is Live with J&M, and it's just kind of us talking about the life going through college, especially during the COVID pandemic, and then us as a couple and how we've kind of tried to overcome some of the struggles that we've had, and anything kind of related to topics like that. I know pretty soon we're going to start talking about, finance or getting ready for college coming here in August. And so that's kind of what we have planned and kind of the vibe of our podcast.
Yeah, we're trying to cater more towards our generation, our age group. So that's something that we're looking into doing.
Awesome. Yeah, I've listened to a couple episodes so far, and I really like you. Everyone who's listening, you guys should definitely go check it out. They have a really good back and forth, which, I mean, you two are dating. It makes sense, but not everyone has that. So I like the vibe a lot.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, sometimes I wonder how other people hear us. Like, do we sound weird, or is it kind of like, does it feel staged or not?
No, I can definitely relate. I can say I can always say nice things about other people's content than my own. I'm like, I think this is crap, but I'm gonna my new motto is I kind of just keep doing it until someone tells me otherwise.
Yeah.
But yeah, so first off, how long have you two been together?
We've been together for a little over 3 years now.
Wow.
Yeah, back in June was our 3-year anniversary. And then
before that, we talked
a little bit.
How old are both of you? You guys are young, right?
Yeah, we're both 19.
Yeah, we started dating the summer going into junior year.
Yeah, of high school.
Wow. Nice. So you guys said you guys met in high school?
Yes.
Yeah, we met in our English class sophomore year. So, do you want to explain that or your point of view?
So it was like, I mean, I'd always seen her freshman year, sophomore year, then we finally had a class together. and I sat across from her. And it was just kind of like a twist of fate that we ended up sitting next to each other. And, it just started talking more and more. And then eventually it got to the point where I was like, I like you. And she was like, I like you too. And then, here we are now, 3 years later, kicking it pretty good, I think.
Yeah, we met through a mutual friend. We just started doing work together. And
Yeah.
then that's kind of how we started talking.
Nice. I believe, yeah. I believe in that fate. You two were supposed to meet for a reason.
Yeah, we actually had a class freshman year. It was biology, but we never talked to each other.
Oh, yeah.
Like at all.
Huh.
Yeah,
That's
it was
interesting.
pretty weird. Like looking back when we had finally realized, I was like, oh yeah, we did have each other for a class freshman year, but I never noticed her. I think she said she would notice me a little bit, but nothing crazy. At least compared to freshman year, that's when or sophomore year, that's when we actually started to really take notice of each other.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah. The one day it's like both of you are almost complete strangers, and then it's like you guys end up being, it's like wow, that person becomes a big part of your life. It's like the love of your life. It's crazy.
Yeah, sometimes it's kind of like a weird realization. Like, I'll be sitting in bed and then I'm like, man, like this person was a total stranger to me. And now like I'm waking up and texting her and I'm like, good morning, babe. And it's like, what? That's crazy. I never used to do that, And I mean, I know it's been 3 years, but it still feels so like new and fresh to me.
And it's crazy how it feels so new, but I feel like we've been together for a longer period of time at the same time.
But yeah, sometimes it does feel like we've been together for longer. And I'm like, it's only been 3 years.
Well, no, that's always great. A pleasant surprise,
Yeah.
as we put it. So for both of you, what is one of your favorite memories with your partner?
I think there was this one day. So we weren't even together for a year yet. I don't think, not even 6 months. But we went to Six Flags Fiesta Texas. It's a theme park here where we live at, and
Okay.
we went with our group of friends. But I think we branched off and we went in my own car, or it was my mom's car at the time. But I was taking it, and we went off together, and then I did like the corniest thing and put on like an Ed Sheeran song and started like singing to her, just not even any warning.
Oh.
It wasn't even like
Do you remember which one?
It was man, which one was it?
I don't know. I remember us being in your mom's car though.
I
And
know.
we were driving back to Six
we
Flags.
were driving back to the theme park. I was drenched in sweat. Just I mean,
it was a long day.
I wasn't flattering at all, but just put on the song and started singing. It wasn't even good singing. And then man, she started crying and I was like, what's happening?
It was just funny, but like also
yeah. It was like a heartwarming, funny moment.
Laughing in tears.
Yeah. So I remember that distinctly.
One of my favorite memories is actually, I think it was 2 years or a year. No, it's been 2 years now. We went to the rodeo with his family and it was freezing.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, I'm gonna die out here because I'm anemic. So it was just like it was more cold than usual. And they only had like a few lawn chairs out and they were like the really long ones. So we sat in the same one to like stay warm. And then we just both fell asleep and knocked out because of how cold it was. And I was like, I never would have fallen asleep in public because it was in public. Like everyone was looking at us, but I felt so comfortable. So I thought it was funny.
Oh yeah, I think my mom took a picture of us.
You didn't pass out alone, at least.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it wasn't just me.
That's always a plus. I've done that at the beach, and it's not fun.
Oh no.
But it's so warm at the beach. I can definitely fall asleep there,
True.
no problem.
But that's the thing. Sorry, it's just a sidetrack, but I went with someone. It was a date type thing, and I fell asleep, woke up, and they were gone.
Oh my gosh.
No. Man, I'd be so bummed out if I saw that like you weren't there. I was like, where'd she go?
But honestly, it wasn't that great anyway. And it was the beach. The beach is such a happy place that, yeah.
Yeah.
But so I'm very curious about these answers because of both of you being younger. What is a difficult time that both of you have been through with each other?
It was I think it was like in between our first and second year. I don't really remember like which year it was in, but we were having a lot of communication problems. Like that was the main thing. We were really busy in school. So it was like we were making time for each other, but it was just in school. And because of that, it was kind of like we weren't really connecting or like finding new things out about each other or hanging out. And it kind of made it hard to talk to each other.
Yeah, it was I think because we had leadership roles in our high school, and I think like she had said, we were just so busy that the relationship almost came second to what it is that we were doing in school. And I think there was definitely a loss of what it is that we were trying to get out of the relationship between each other. And so a little argument, or I don't know, I don't even know if I'd call it an argument, but it was just kind of like this heated energy between us kind of started to brew up until eventually it just kind of blew up. And then it was like from one day to the next, like things went from like not really bad to like, oh my gosh, like this is something that we need to talk about because clearly it's an issue. And I mean it was a easy resolve
When we finally calmed down.
when we
But
finally
like
calmed
during
down.
the time, it was kind of like
I know that there was
stressful.
one day there I was like, oh no, I lost her. But I mean, after having the chance to talk to each other and realize, where it is that we were at fault on both ends, it wasn't just a one-sided thing. I think we had both agreed that we were both not making enough time for each other, not communicating what we wanted out of the relationship to each other. And so after just sitting down and talking, man, it must have been like just 3 hours in my car, like in a
Wow.
school parking lot, because we were like, we can't have this conversation in one of our parents' houses.
Yeah, we didn't
And
really want anyone to hear.
yeah, so we sat down in my car for 3 hours, talked it out, and then everything seemed all right. And obviously, we had to kind of build back up. It's not like everything was instantly fixed,
Yeah.
but I mean, I think we're at a really good place now, and our communication is like at the top that it could ever be, probably.
That's awesome. Speaking of parents or just in general outside factors, I know sometimes being in school when we see our friends all the time and certain family members like parents, were there any outside factor people that were kind of like putting their 2 cents in when you guys were going through difficult times?
I mean, I guess I had a few friends that were trying to offer advice, but I don't know. I never really took it because it's like their relationships or their past relationships that they have been in have just been so different than
Yeah.
the one that Marisabel and I are in right now, or even back then. And so I was like, I understand like where y'all are coming from, but the advice really only pertains to you and the relationship that you had or that you have.
Yeah.
I felt like I couldn't really take that back and actually make anything good of it. Obviously, I still listened and I appreciated them trying to help me, but I don't think it would have helped in our case. But my parents never really they've always been pretty supportive of the relationship, so I haven't had any problems there.
Yeah,
Good.
my parents as well. I think that's what helped and why we've lasted for so long, just because we have that support. I did have one friend in high school who tried to like butt in, but it's the same thing. Like her idea of a relationship was very different. And it's kind of like I was just explaining like something. It wasn't even horrible, but she was like, oh, well, you should do this. And I was like, well, I don't like, I'm not saying it's a bad thing. Like, I was just
Yeah.
explaining like that happens. Like, it's not a bother or anything and trying to make it something bigger than what it was. And so after that, I didn't really listen to anybody because I didn't want anyone else's opinion to influence our relationship like that.
Gotcha. I know it can be tough when you're trying to figure things out and people are like, leave them or like do this or like they just, yeah, try to weigh in. And I noticed personally in my own life, especially with friends, that they meant well, of course, but I realized why they were so adamant about maybe I leave someone or negative things because I was only telling them the negative parts of the relationship. All the good stuff was between me and the partner, but then they were always hearing like, oh, guess what they did to me type stuff. So I was like, I
Yeah.
gotta, change that mindset.
Yeah, I
But
think that helps. I don't know if we like only said negative things, but I feel like sometimes people only focus on the negative when
on
they're
that,
listening. So that can be a big
true.
part of it
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, I guess the positive is just it comes up so often that it kind of just goes over everybody's head, like in one ear out the other, because it just seems like normal, and then it's like when the bad things come up,
They're like, oh my
oh
gosh, like
yeah,
what?
Well,
and
so, yeah, some people love drama. The good stuff, it's like, oh, it's
Yeah.
boring.
yeah, but there hasn't been too many. We've been pretty chill. I think it was just kind of at the beginning,
Good.
just trying to figure everything out, and now we have a pretty good flow of what we expect of each other,
Yeah, sometimes we still have like those little moments where it's like, well, that's not what I said. And it's like, well, that's what I said, or that's how I meant it. And then we have to kind of review what
Yeah.
we were saying, because if not, it'll come off wrong. And it's like not the intention of it.
Yeah.
But that's great. You both have that system in play. At
Yeah, it's
least.
worked out for us.
So what is one of the most important lessons each of you have learned in life? And this doesn't have to be related to the relationship. This could be anything.
I think probably one of the most important lessons I've learned. I mean, I guess it could pertain to a relationship, but just life in general is just kind of like think about the situation that you're in and like how other people might be reacting to it. And like for example, like I used to work at a grocery chain here where I live, and then during the pandemic, it was a lot of high stress situations. Everybody was constantly, angry at like, why don't we have toilet paper, or why don't you have, like this type of chicken meat, or like why don't you have enough of this cereal or whatever. And it was I wanted to get upset so bad, or like just burst out and be like, because like we just don't have it. But I had to like calm down and understand, like, not just because it was my job, but like, in their situation, like I don't know what their situation is. What if they have like 10 kids, and that's a lot of mouths to feed, or even 4 kids, that's a lot of mouths to feed. And so, I had to kind of understand and, do my best to redirect them to another possible option. And most of the time, they were cool with that alternative option that I would offer. And like that example had portrayed, just understanding or trying to understand where other people might be coming from. And, just being nice, because it can be hard sometimes, because you might be in that situation. And, I know I wouldn't want somebody to be upset with me if, I was trying to do something and it wasn't turning out the way I wanted to. So I just try my best to just be kind. Even if others are being upset, I'm like, well, I don't know what your situation is. I think it'd be best just to be kind, even if you are being mean, because you might have a good reason for it. I don't know.
Yeah, it's definitely a great outlook. And people shopping at stores, we need patience. It's not worth fighting over a box of Lucky Charms
Yeah.
in aisle 4. It's just not worth it.
Definitely. What about you, babe?
I was thinking about it right now. I was trying to think of something.
It's like when people are ordering food at a restaurant, you're like, you go first.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I guess something that I've learned more of is to be patient. So, just with life in general, like I may want something to happen right away, but it's not going to happen automatically when I think about it. There's going to be like steps in between. And if something like is taking longer, or maybe going faster than it should be, and it's not, I don't know, as productive, I have to review it and be like, that's okay. Like it's going to get done either way. I just need to focus on what I'm doing right now.
Yeah, no, that's an important lesson, definitely. And before we get into the random questions, the fun ones and the tough ones, for both of you, what are your social media links or websites or anything that you want us to follow and check out?
Okay, so on Instagram and on Twitter, we're live with JM. It's all underscore, and there's like no
Or
little.
all lowercase.
I said underscore, lowercase. Like there's no underscores or anything like that. I was trying to remember because sometimes people ask.
Yeah, so live with JM, all lowercase, no underscore. There we'll have a link in our bios, and then you can find any personal links or links to all of our shows on all the other platforms as well.
Awesome. All right, so let's get into. So I got the white cards and the green cards, and the white ones are the dangerous, tough questions.
Okay.
These are like the deeper ones.
So I forgot we were doing random ones.
Okay. So first one. Okay. What does trust and commitment look like in your relationship?
So personally, from my point of view, I think trust and commitment that comes from our relationship is kind of just letting each other know what we're up to. And it's not like, oh, we feel obligated to tell each other. It's kind of just a respect thing. And we would think if we're in like the other person's shoes, like, would we want to know, or would it be like nice to hear about? Like, if I'm going out with my friends, I'll be like, hey, I'm going out between like this time and this time. I'll be back later if you want to talk, just so it doesn't seem like we aren't communicating with each other or like don't want to see each other that day.
Yeah, it's just Yeah, having a general respect for each other or an understanding of what it is that we want or what it is that we're looking for. Because I mean, neither one of us are trying to know where the person's at, minute by minute. We don't really like track each other like that. It is just kind of a, hey, shoot me a text, or call me when you have a chance. Nothing ever too serious, because we both understand, that we do still have separate lives despite us being in a relationship. And I think it's important to respect that and have trust in your significant other. And we definitely have that trust between us,
Yeah.
and understanding that it's fine, just because they're out by themselves or they're out with their friends, there shouldn't be anything to really worry about between us.
Yeah, and I think just knowing that we both have that idea, it really helps whenever we like go do separate things.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, no, it's definitely, it's great that because you guys worked on your communication, that probably helped with that. And yeah, it's hard for some people, and I'm guilty of this myself, where you start becoming like one with your partner and everything. It's like everything together and all the same interest all of a sudden, when it wasn't like that before. So yeah, it's so important. I'm happy you guys mentioned, yeah, living your own lives, because sometimes we forget that.
Yeah, and I think at a point we were kind of always together,
Yeah.
and we always wanted
Yeah.
to do the same things, and we were in the same like school activities, had the same classes. It was kind of, but that was mainly in high school. Now that we're in college and we go to different colleges, it helped a little more to realize, oh, like I have a different degree than you now. Like we're not working towards the same goal. So we're going to have like different time schedules or different things that we have to do, and we have to respect that our time isn't solely going into one another.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a little bit of a shift for sure, going from spending time together like all the time to having different schedules. But I think it was important for us to sit down and talk about that, and then again, like, talk about that trust with each other. Like, okay, like, we're gonna both be at different schools, but we know what we got to take care of, and at the end of the day, like, we're gonna come back and we'll still be together. It's not like we're not together during the day
Yeah.
when we're at our own respective schools.
Yes, definitely. All right, two more. So, okay, how have each of you grown and changed in the relationship?
From the beginning of our relationship, it was very much, I think we had talked about this too between the two of us. One night we were kind of talking about how almost, because I started whenever, okay, man, there's just so much to go over, but I'm gonna try and condense it as much as I can, paraphrase. So at the beginning of our
We got
relationship,
time. We got time.
awesome. So at the beginning of our relationship, when we had first got together, we would send text messages to each other. And I mean, these were not like, hey, good morning. I mean, I'm talking paragraphs of stuff like in the morning, mid afternoon, at nighttime. I don't know what it was in me that I just felt obligated. I was like, I gotta
Some
send her.
Shakespeare.
I know. I was like, I gotta send her essays throughout the day. And man, it was a ton. And then she would reciprocate that and send essays back.
We're kind of competitive.
I know.
Like to see who can send the longest
We're like,
one.
all right, I bet. And I was like, if I don't got enough to say, I'm just gonna throw paragraphs of emojis in here, man.
And he did.
I know it was
He
it was a
did.
lot, and honestly, like, I mean, sometimes every now and then, I'll send a little heartfelt, couple paragraphs, but it's nowhere near like I was doing it every day back. Not when
It
we
was
were.
for months too.
It was
It
like
wasn't even like, oh, like a month. It
Yeah.
was months
It was like
of us just doing
the
that.
first 6 months of our relationship. I think I was constantly just sending like long paragraphs, and it wasn't like. I feel like I was saying the same stuff in every message, though.
It was just different.
I had this feeling in me that I needed to send these long messages, and so I think that that's kind of like relating to the entirety of how I felt, of that I needed to step up and do all, like, so much more than I was doing. Like, when we first started talking to each other, we were just talking, we were just sharing stories and being very personal with each other. And I think I forgot, like, that's why we got together, because of that connection that we had when we were first starting. And so when we, dubbed each other girlfriend and boyfriend, we gave each other those titles. I all of a sudden had this feeling in me that I needed to do more. And I think I was stressing myself out, I think, more than I needed to, just trying to go above and beyond every single time. And I was like, no, I need to understand, like, she loves me for me. She's not loving me for all of these extra things that I'm doing that came out of nowhere that I never did. And I mean, I'm sure she appreciated all those long messages, but
Yeah.
But I mean, they were long. And it took me a while. She texted me. It take me like an hour to respond. It's like, man, you've been typing for a long time. I'm like, yeah, I have.
Yeah, that bubble just kept going. Like on iMessages.
But yeah, I mean, just even despite like even aside from the messages, it was just other stuff during the relationship that I was like, man, I mean, it's great to go above and beyond, but pouring like 110% every single time, it can be draining. And so I had to realize I was like, maybe it is okay to just go and get a coffee, not like go and get a coffee. Oh, and then let's go to Target and let me buy you these things. Oh, and then let's come over here. Like I was trying to do so much,
Okay.
just because I had this obligation to please, and I was like, but I know she's chill with just
I know. I was like,
going
we can just
out
hang
and
out. Like we don't have to
Oh,
go do
so
anything.
it was words and actions.
definitely,
Yeah.
yeah. And so that was kind of my transition of realizing that it was okay to just I don't want to say do like the minimum, but that I don't need to just go exceed like these expectations that I set for myself, because she's not expecting that. And it was I think it was important for me to learn that, because then the relationship became more relaxed than I think it ever was, and then it allowed us to be in less, I think, stressful situations. And so I don't know, it's been better.
Yeah, we were going on like big dates all the time. And it was like, it's okay. Like, we can just hang out. Like, we can see a movie or we can just, like he said, go get coffee or something. It doesn't have to be this huge thing every single time. Like, that's nice every now and then, but it's
Yeah.
okay. Like, we don't need to do that.
So when the long messages and like the 6-8 hour Target dates, when when those kind of like slowed down, was it more? Yeah, it sounds like it was more of like a relief than it being like, oh, is something wrong?
Yeah, because I mean, I think I had mentioned to her, I was like, man, like this is getting like I still love you, but like I don't know, it's draining. Like not that the
Yeah.
relationship was draining, but what it is that I was trying to do was draining. I had all these big ambitious things that I was trying to do for her. I was like, I got time to get to those. I had this feeling of like, man, I got to do all these before we turn 20. I was like, nah, man, you know, I got the rest of my life to do this. That's what I had to realize. And so I think there was, and we had this. I mean, even a few weeks ago, I think we had this conversation. Like, there's some stuff that I think, like, the relationship almost got too relaxed at a point
Mhm.
where it was like, oh, well, you're not even, come like, I'll just walk into her house. I won't be like, oh, hi, babe, and like give her a kiss, whatever. Be like, hi, and then just straight beeline to like the kitchen, and
It's true.
it's like it got too relaxed, and so we kind of had to have that conversation of like, oh, okay, well, let's reel it back in, figure out, oh yeah, okay, I am getting too relaxed. It's like, you
It's
Well,
know,
you
funny
had
to
to eat
think
all those
about that.
groceries from Target.
exactly. And we sat down, had that conversation, and remembered again, like, what it is that we want. I was like, just the small things, like a hey, how are you doing, kiss on the forehead,
I know, like give me a
hug.
hug when you walk in. I'm just like, you're
And it
into my
was like, oh
house.
yeah, like, I mean, that'll happen throughout the day, but like a lot of the times just the initial greeting is just straight over my head. I'm like, hey man, like we're here to
You're like, do you have
do
food?
something,
I'm like, yes.
and but no, yeah, I mean, it's been better, and I think it all goes back to the just that communication and trust between each other. We were able to sit down and have that conversation. I was like, okay, well, you don't need to be going out and doing these big things, but the small things, like a kiss on the forehead or a hey babe, how are you, like for that initial greeting, is like that's what she's looking for, and that's what I'm looking for. That's the things that we appreciate.
Yeah, no, that's definitely Marissa. Yeah, did you have anything else to add
Oh yeah,
with
like
like your
how we've
growth?
changed.
Yeah.
um I would say personally I changed kind of being more open. So in the beginning of the relationship, I was kind of like, oh, okay, what do you want to do? Because I was scared to like give the wrong answer because we just started dating. And it's funny to think about that because it's just a question of where you want to go.
Yeah.
But I was kind of like nervous for him to be like, well, I don't want to do that. And I didn't want to hear, like, I don't want to do that. So
It's
I was
over.
kind of scared. So now I'm like more open, like, oh, we should go get Chick-fil-A or we should get Whataburger, like to eat. And, or just like things that we want to do. Like, go to the movies or go to the museums. I mean, obviously, we hadn't been able to do that this past year because everything was closed. But before that, after like a year or two, I was very open about what I wanted to do or what I thought about certain things.
Yeah, for sure. I think yeah, you're right. That was I think a change too. And that was even a change for me, trying realizing that man, I'm putting too much, like we were just doing what I wanted to do. And I didn't really realize that. And then when I figured that out, that's when I started asking her, like, okay, well, what do you want to do? And she's like, whatever you want. I'm like, no, 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 no. Like, what do you
It
want
was
to
a
do?
very stressful
I was like,
situation.
you tell me and we'll do it. Like, I don't have a problem with it. And I think we had to sit down and talk about it. I was like, no, like, seriously, like, it's not like I'm going to get upset at you if you suggest something that I'm like, maybe not. Like, that's just, that's the name of the game. We just, go back and forth until we figure out, okay, this is what we want to do. Like, we have a mutual agreement between it.
Yeah, so definitely being more open. I would think we both grew.
Yes, being more open and understanding of each other's feelings.
Yeah, also listening. I think sometimes when we would get into like little disagreements, I would hear only certain things. You know, they say selective hearing. Well, I did have that very much. And even though like we were communicating and I was kind of saying like what I wanted to say, I wasn't really hearing everything that he was saying. It's kind of how we were talking about, oh, you pick out the negative things when you're listening. Well, that's what I was doing. And I had to change my point of view or how I listened to him because I realized he's not upset. Like maybe his tone of voice isn't as happy as it was before we had this conversation, but it's not that he's mad at me. It's just that we're going against a difficult situation.
Yeah, it would be like when we'd have, because it's not like every conversation came easy. A lot of times
Yeah.
those quote unquote hard conversations, they would be kind of awkward between us, despite us being together for so long. I mean, it is still kind of awkward to talk about the things that bother us, like especially relating to the relationship. It's awkward to bring up because I think we both are scared to hurt the other person's feelings, or to risk getting into another disagreement. But I think we kind of have gotten better at entering into those conversations, and you kind of recognizing that maybe our tone of voice is not as welcoming as it could be. I think I had that problem for sure. Sometimes we'd have those conversations and I just sounded like I was upset. I was like, but I'm not. Like I was like open to talking about it, but I think my tone very much turned her off to the conversation, and caused a lot of those other communication errors. Like it's not just about talking and communication. It is also about, the body language and how it is that you sound to the other person. Like, are you inviting, are you welcoming them into this conversation? And that was a lot for us to, that was something that we had to learn. And I think that we're still learning, that we're still getting better at for sure.
Yeah, because there's still some topics that we go around. We don't really talk about them. And it's something that we're still working on just because we don't want to come off in the rude way. And it's not that we think we're going to get mad at each other. It's just it's not the right time or like setting. Like we'll be out at the grocery store or at the gym and those topics come up, which is crazy because it's like not what we're focused on. And it's like, well, we can't really have this conversation freely in public. Like we have to have it in private.
Yeah, man.
That school parking lot.
Exactly, man.
The best place.
Sometimes I'm feeling it in the gym. I'm like, I'm getting emotional. I'm like, oh yeah, this is a good pump. Hey, you know what? And I just start.
And my mind is definitely not on that.
I
I'm
know.
like, I
Oh,
want
man.
to work out. I don't want to think about anything.
It's just like working out is therapeutic. I'm like, hey man, like while we're here getting a good pump in, let's go ahead and talk about this. And she's like, no, we're here to put work in, and then we can have that conversation later. I'm like,
we can have it in the car on the way home, but I don't want to have it right here because people are like so close to us. I'm like, are they listening to our conversation?
That would suck too. Yeah, someone just tries to put their 2 cents in on the next treadmill over or something. It's like, I wasn't talking to you, Gary.
Oh my gosh.
I would hate that. That's the main reason why I don't want to have them in public.
But I wish I was a fraction as wise at 19 as both of you are in this relationship. I wish I knew I thought I knew everything, and just, yeah, I'm very happy for both of you. And I definitely hope, you both keep continuing, your growth and keep working it out. Cause yeah, you guys are Like, damn.
Yeah. That is the goal. That is the end goal here.
Yeah, we're doing good. I'd like to think so.
Me too.
I'm
Well,
saying
I was gonna say, I doubt this would be the place you guys would talk about.
I know. It's like, this is one of those awkward places where it's like, oh wait, no, not here. That's not where we have this conversation.
Yeah, actually.
Yeah.
So I got one more of the tough ones, and then it's just some would you rathers.
All right.
Okay.
So I'm happy I didn't get one of the other. There's like a really awkward question there. I'm happy it's not this. So
I think I know which
what
one.
Me too.
what are your deepest dreams, and how do you help each other fulfill dreams?
Okay, so do you want to go first?
Yeah, so sorry. So I think as far as deepest dreams go, we already have talked to each other. Like we want to get married once we graduate from college. You know, I think that's something important, that like one of our dreams that we have together of, okay, well, we know that we want to get through college, but we also know that we want to get married. But we understand that I mean, not that it's bad getting married early, but that, you know, I think it'd be better if we have our degrees and then we have a good job. That way, once we get married, then, you know, we want everything to kind of fall into place of graduating, getting married, then buying a house and, you know, eventually kids and such, nice cars, all that, you know, the whole shebang later on in life. It was, I think, through us having that conversation and figuring out what it is that we want in life and, you know, kind of these long-term goals, it really helped us, I don't know how I'd put that, kind of set ourselves up for success, like not only the relationship but us as individuals. So now we are, you know, very focused on school but also focused on the relationship, probably in equal amounts. You know, we understand that we got to take care of our own things but also each other, like we're nurturing our relationship as well as nurturing our relationship with, you know, all of this information that we're learning in school in order to build up to these careers that we want. And so I think it's been really great just knowing that I have that support, like from her, because obviously I have it from my parents, but it's good knowing that, you know, I can focus on what it is that I'm doing. I can go out and work and she's not going to be upset about it, just like how she can go and work and she can go to school and focus on what she needs to get done, but I'm not going to be upset about it because, you know, I know we got to take care of what we got to take care of. And then, you know, it's all working towards those long-term goals that we have. And I think that's really how we just support each other. It's just being supportive of our own individual things that we're taking care of, because, you know, we know that it's all going to culminate to this big thing of getting married and then, you know, graduating and all that stuff. And especially for the house that we've talked about that we want.
We gotta save up a lot of
Oh my
money.
gosh. Like I mean, it's not like we want a mansion, but I mean, we want a pretty big house. Now, like that's, you know, that takes hard work. It's not like we're just going to get there by getting married. We need to put in the effort to, you know, build up to even afford something like that. You know, this house with like a, you know, a man cave and stuff and like a game room and like all this other stuff that, you know, you'd look at him like, man, that's kind of a lot for two people. I was like, well, that's what we want.
There was a
Did
point where
you-
I did want a mansion though, and he said no.
That's pretty big.
Were you both planning on staying in Texas or going somewhere else?
Yeah, I think we were planning to stay in Texas. Our family's in Texas. If anything, we'd move
Yeah.
to like a closer city to where we are right now.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely. I think I don't know. I think family is very important. Staying close to family has always been really important to me, especially because my dad, he was in the Navy, and so me and my brother, we were Navy kids and always moved around. So I didn't see family as often, and I didn't see friends. You know, I'd make friends in one place, and then my dad's getting stationed somewhere else, and then, you know, we'd move. And so I definitely got very attached to the idea of being close to family once we finally moved back home, because, you know, I didn't have that for like a large part of the beginning of my childhood. I mean, sometimes they'd come and visit, you know, but it was only for a couple of days, and then they'd have to fly back to Texas. And, you know, it was like, man, I didn't really develop as strong of a relationship until we had moved back. And when we moved back home and I developed such strong relationships between all of my family members and the friends that I made here, I was like, you know, I don't want to lose that. And I don't want to have to, you know, put our future kids or any like future friends that we make. I don't want to, or like even, like our family too, just having to cross country travel just to see them. I want to be able, like, even if we do live like a couple hours away, a couple hour drive, beats a plane ride, having to get on an airplane and then get off and then the whole airport stuff. It's a hassle for sure. And so definitely staying in Texas is the plan.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we both agree that family is very important. Just because, well, I didn't move. I stayed in the same city my entire life. But I saw my family almost every day. Like, my grandparents would pick me up from school, or I would hang out with them. Then, when I was little and my mom went to work, like, I would stay with them. So, I'm very used to having that relationship where it's like, oh, like, if I need something, I kind of just call them. Or if I just want to see someone, I can just go and see them because they're right here. And most of my family does live in Texas. I have a few in California and Wisconsin and in Mexico. So it's harder to see them and I miss them more. And I wouldn't want to be in that position my entire life or like for the rest of it.
Gotcha. And Marisabel, did you have anything to add with the dreams question, or was it pretty much like a similar answer?
It's very similar, I feel like, because we've had the same conversation, not the same conversation, but a similar conversation over and over again, kind of just to make sure that we're still on the same page. Because, like, if one of us changes our minds, it's going to be a little harder to adapt. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I never even thought about that. We do have the conversation so often that without even realizing it, we are just making sure we're on the same page, like at all times, it seems like. I think that's important to understand too. Because then, like, sometimes you'll bring up, I was like, you know what? I want a pool in the house. I'm like, man, a pool, that's a lot of maintenance. But, it was just stuff like that. Like, you don't think about that. And I think just constantly updating each other on what it is that we're trying to have in the future or what it is that you're dreaming of to have in the future. It's those conversations are important because then we kind of shift what it is that we're doing right now. That way it caters to whatever it is that we're trying to get to, because there's an overall goal, but definitely those small stuff we can adapt to.
Yeah, I feel like it's important to have similar goals. Obviously, not the same exact goals because we want different professions, but knowing, like, in the end, like, oh, I want to have a family, or oh, like, I want to live in this part of the city or have this type of house, just so we know, like, or we have a goal in mind and we're both just on the same page, like Julian said.
Yeah. And like a lot of this seems kind of like a lot to think about for a 19-year-old couple, I think.
It is a lot.
And but honestly, it's all thanks to like my parents or my mom specifically. I mean, she was just because she was not really thrusted into my parents' relationship, but that everything was just moving so fast with the age that she had me, and then my dad joining the Navy. Everything was moving so fast that they didn't have time to figure things out. Like they were figuring things out along the way rather than figuring out things beforehand, and then stuff falling into place like how we have planned. They were just kind of rolling with the punches, going with the wind, And she was like, it's very stressful and I don't want that for y'all. So, start thinking about it now, have those conversations now. That way, by the time you get to that point, it's a lot easier. And, not everything's going to go to plan. I don't expect it to. But I think having some sort of plan, having a plan is going to help us in the long run. And so it's definitely been like majority thanks to my mom, just sitting down, like we'll go and pick up like Whataburger or like some sort of food nearby, and then just on the drive there she's like, yep, this is the time to have that conversation. Like, all right.
No, that's awesome. Yeah, any other additional comments I had, you took the words out of my mouth. So so we'll go right to the would you rathers. Awesome. So these are a little bit lighter. So first one is, would you rather spend $5,000 on traveling or on a physical item?
On traveling. I like to travel.
I feel like it depends what the physical item is.
Like I was gonna say, yeah, with the whole game room thing.
I don't know. I was like, what could you get with that's a lot. $5,000, man. That's.
I don't know. It's not like as much as we think. We're only 19.
I guess you're right. $5,000 does seem like a lot, but I mean, mean, you can stretch $5,000 quite a bit, honestly.
I know, but $5,000. Like, if it's just me on the trip, is it you? Like, you could go wherever and see anything.
Well, I hope it's
She's
us. Jesus.
leaving you at home with that physical item.
Nah, I mean, yeah, you're very much about traveling. I'm real comfortable. Just I'm kind of like I'm cool with staying at home, sort of
Okay.
vibe. She wants to like travel the world, and I'm down. Like I'll go with her, but I'm comfortable being just here in my little social circle. Not branching out too much.
That's interesting. Would you know what? Well, I guess for each of you, for Julian, would you know what physical item would you want? And then for Marisabel, do you know where you would like to travel?
Man, I don't even off the top of my head, I can't even think because I know, like, given the living situation right now, like, I don't want to buy all this stuff, but let's hypothetically, if I had a house, right, it would be
Yeah.
probably towards like a nice TV and like a nice set of couches and stuff like that.
I
Just
can see
something
that.
something comfortable that we would both be able to enjoy. You know what I mean? Because if we got a
Gotcha.
nice couch with reclining seats and then big flat screen TVs, like that's what I'm thinking about. Like it's enjoyment for both of us, but in a comfortable home setting.
Yeah, and I
Okay.
like that. But I also want to experience other things. I don't want to experience the couch, like watching TV.
If it's a nice couch, though, man,
Okay.
What? Where would you like to travel?
I would like to go to Europe, and not just
Nice.
like the touristy place, but I kind of want to experience their culture. So I feel like you have to stay longer and see like different cities, not just like, oh, in Spain it's Barcelona. Like I want to also see the little cities around it.
Gotcha. Nice.
That'd be cool.
So
We could do running with the bulls in Spain.
I'm not doing that.
Her dad wants to do it. I'm like, I'll do it with you.
No. It's so dangerous.
So, well, this one a little dark. Would you rather be in jail for 5 years or be in a coma for a decade?
Oh my gosh.
I'd rather be in a coma.
You'd rather be in a coma?
I'd rather be
That
in a
sleep.
coma.
Oh my gosh.
Jail's like so harsh. I can't imagine surviving. Like I
That's
don't
true,
know.
but 10 years is a long time. Like, we'll
Hey.
look completely different in 10 years, probably.
That's fine. Like I said, I'll get a lot of sleep.
Oh my god.
I'm gonna look good. I don't know what you're talking about.
Don't they feed you with tubes in a coma? Like, you're gonna have
Yeah,
a
it's like
tube?
liquid.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, no, honestly, I'd rather be. Okay. I feel like the context of the question, like, how you just put in jail, or
You just put in
did you do something to get into jail? 'Cause I don't want anything on my record.
That's a good question. No, I feel like it's got to be on the record.
Oh man.
I don't want that either.
That's kind of tough. That's like because then they're like, I see you went to jail. I was like, no, it was just, it was like a thing.
You could be exonerated, I guess. Yeah, that's complicated.
Man, that's all right.
I'm sticking with the coma.
I'll be in a coma with you. I'll lay next to you.
Hey, you two have passed out together, so
that's true. Oh my gosh.
Basically the same thing.
Yeah.
just a little longer. So, last one. I forgot. Sorry, I'm laughing. I forgot this was even a question I made. Would you rather have 10,000 spoons when all you need is a knife, or always have a knife but never be able to use spoons?
Oh my god.
You can never use spoons. Oh my god.
You always got a knife on you.
How would you eat soup?
That's true. I mean, man, 10,000 spoons.
Well, you could just drink it out of the bowl. I don't know.
But think about the situation. Like, what if you're having a steak and then all you have is 10,000 spoons?
Well, when you think about it, if you put the spoon hard enough in the steak, it will cut it.
Yeah, I feel like if you use 2 spoons in tandem and you like...
I don't know if I want 10,000 spoons though. Like, what would I do with all of them?
We'd never run out of spoons.
Where would we put them?
We'd be able to pass these spoons on for generations to come. I mean, generations, like 10 generations from now, we'd still be providing spoons to our extended family.
Man, they'd probably be like, why did they choose this out of another option. Like, why do they choose 10,000
Like,
spoons?
it's either this or a knife and never being able to use a spoon. I'd go with the 10,000 spoons. I mean, there's so much you could do with spoons. I
So
mean,
you can still use a knife with the 10,000 spoons?
yes.
Um,
Or
see,
no,
it's a-
no, it was that you can't use a knife, right?
when all you need is a knife.
Okay, see, so it's like
Maybe you
okay.
can't find it. I don't.
Yeah, that's the It's like when you need a knife in a situation, instead of you open the drawer and there's just 10,000 spoons instead of a
Can
knife.
a drawer fit 10,000? I'm just thinking about this. Like, can one single drawer
In
fit
this
10,000 spoons?
In this scenario,
I don't
there's
know.
a magic drawer that fits 10,000 spoons.
Okay, it
Or
has to be
one
a
knife
thick
and no
drawer.
spoons. The spoons. You want to say the spoons.
I do want to say the spoons, but I don't want to say the same thing.
That drawer's gonna go in the game room probably.
Oh, most definitely, yes. It's like, y'all want to see my really cool spoon drawer? You're gonna be like, what? And then just open it up, there's billions of spoons. That'd be pretty funny. No, yeah, definitely the spoons. You just always have a spoon on you.
That's true. That's such a different question. I wasn't expecting to choose.
I'm so happy you two are answering it so seriously.
It's so versatile. I mean, the amount of stuff you can do with 10,000 spoons is so much different than just having a knife and never being able to use a spoon. You know what I mean? Because then, you could grind one of the spoons down so it's a little sharp on an edge, and then boom, problem solved. You got a spife.
Why is this such a deep conversation? Like, you just have to pick one.
Yeah, this went a little more into detail than I think other things. But at least if Marisabel chose the knife one, then she could always be your knife to all your spoons.
That's very true.
We should have picked different things.
We should make that.
We choose the same.
We should make that a quote and post it. I was like, be the knife to my 10,000 spoons.
People would be so confused.
Yeah, they'd be like, it's an inside joke. You wouldn't get it. I was like, go listen to the episode. You'll know.
There you go.
That's good
there we go.
advertising.
Good advertising. And then you plug your podcast and it's good to go.
Yep.
But yeah, I want to thank both of you so much for coming onto the show. Hey, Past Frank here, and I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Make sure you subscribe to stay updated on new episodes, leave a review on Apple Podcasts, and if you'd like to become a producer or make a one-time donation to the show, click on the Buy Me Coffee link in the description. I want to give a special thanks to my producers Monica Leigh, Alexa Hunt, Jennifer Herrera, Stephanie Lindsay, Kas Nolan, Alana Rasmussen, and Krisha. I also want to thank each and every one of you for listening to the show. Have a super special awesome day, and bye.